Day of the month of Nisan. Today is our dear Rebbe's birthday. Um, Starting Kapitel 120. That means 119 years. As the Talmud tells us, sages in the Talmud tell us that even after a person's passing, the years still count and the years move and march forward. So we continue with a new chapter, 120 in Psalms and Tehillim. And this is an auspicious day. As the Rebbe writes in Hayom Yom, on such a day, on a birthday, we should have some time of seclusion, think about what we've accomplished and perhaps not accomplished that we need to fix in the past year. And it's an awesome day. It's not a day that it's my party and I can cry if I want to. I mean, if you want to cry over what you didn't do in this past year that you could have done, that's a different story maybe. Anyways, a special auspicious day. Tonight we will have on Chabad Zichra on Facebook. You can come and join us for a special feature. And also it'll be on Zoom. All right, but let us get to some Tanya. We are speaking about kavanah, intent, mindfulness in doing a mitzvah. We speak about that mindfulness is either direct from the mind that feeds the heart, or it can be direct from the heart, and it's a love and awe that we engage in when we do something good, when we do a kind act, when we do a mitzvah, or pray, or like now, learning Torah is a mitzvah. So to do it with kavanah means there's a mindfulness that leads to some kind of feeling, either a feeling literally in the heart of a love and awe for what you're doing, for the mitzvah that you're engaged in, whether it's an awareness of the mitzvah itself, the meaning and the value of it, how it creates a divine connection, or about, the presence of God and you feel the awesomeness of doing what you're doing. Or it's just in the mind, that you sense it in the mind. So the Alter Rebbe, yesterday we concluded saying that in order for it to have kavanah, intent, and that it should have an eternity to it, that it rises and ascends to the divine worlds and the divine attributes in the higher spiritual worlds, you need the wings of love and awe. Wings, in order that it should ascend. So the Alter Rebbe says that if a person is not motivated by doing it in such a manner, in other words, he uses a different term now called Lishmah, which means for its own sake. You are doing the mitzvah not for an ulterior motive, that would not be for its own sake. You're doing it for its own sake, for the attachment, the connection that you're making through it with God. And of course, the good that you're doing. Of course, if you're just doing it for the good, then, and you don't have the mindfulness of an attachment, then there's no love and awe, then the good could be, is not then the kavanah that we're talking about. Now, a person can have an ulterior motive, which we're going to get into that not today, and details of what that means, ulterior motives, right? That is self-serving, and then it doesn't ascend the mitzvah. That doesn't mean that you haven't brought a godliness into this world, because in the act itself, even if there's an ulterior motive, the act itself is an end in itself. However, the act without kavanah, which is intent to do it lishma, for its own sake, for the connection itself, then it doesn't ascend. It doesn't have an eternity to it, what you're doing. Although there is a divine light that does descend into this world in the very act itself. But we're not speaking about that here. That was something in the previous chapters 35 to 37 that we dealt with. Now we're focused on this idea of intent. And this intent here is doing it Lishmah for no ulterior motive um, at all. Now, so he explains. Uh, Now there's ulterior motive, and there's doing it Lishmah, but there's something in between, and that's doing it out of rote. When you do a mitzvah out of rote, like it's very easy to take a few coins from your pocket and put it into a charity box, and you did it. It could be even coming to learn Tanya can be done out of rote because you do it every day. This is your routine. Just like out of rote we can eat and do other mechanical things. So likewise here, as you trained yourself well to come and learn Tanya, or you were trained by your parents very well to pray every day. That's how you were raised, so you do it because that's what you do. So that's not really Lishma, doing it for its own sake, right? So the Alter Rebbe says, interesting that Lishma, doing it for its own sake, has to arouse some feeling in the heart, or at least a mental awareness of why you're doing this. It has to be some kind of love and awe that you need to have an awareness of, or even better, a feeling in the heart. He explains. Lishma means not doing it for your own sake, not doing it for self-serving purposes, right? Ulterior motives, or doing it out of rote. Now, doing it then Lishma for its own sake, meaning for the sake of connection, means that you the other is that you can't do something for another person unless you have feelings to for that person of love, or a fear of being disattached from that person. So love and fear is what will motivate you to do something for another. And fear here doesn't mean fear of punishment. Here it means fear of being disattached, right? Sometimes, the husband will take out the garbage for his wife because the fear of, that she'll be upset and they'll be disattached. They'll lose an attachment, right? For that fear. So, and of course, you can do it for love, which is greater in a sense. But the point is, you can only do something for God, and you can only do something for another human being likewise, where there is that, whether it's a feeling or at least minimally, the mental awareness of that I want to be attached through this. I don't want to be unattached, disattached, disconnected rather, right? If I don't do this. So you need some of that in the awareness in order that it should be considered love and awe, and that you're doing it lishma. Otherwise, either you're doing it out of rote, or you're doing it for some ulterior motive for yourself. And ulterior motive means not for the value in and of itself. The value of the mitzvah is, as we've learned, that the rule is the mitzvah itself, is the attachment. As we spoke yesterday about the principle and the fruit that it bears, those two things. And you need both love and fear/awe. Why? Why not love alone? Because love, we're going to learn more about that, this concept. Love is only enough to be one wing. You need a second wing. And love is like a child connected to their parent. A child serves their parent out of love. A servant serves his master out of fear, out of awe, out of the presence of the master. Not fear of punishment here. I just want to reiterate. That's not at all what Tanya speaks about, although there is that concept, but that's not what Tanya speaks about. It is out of the servant, out of sensing the greatness of the master, out of that sense of awe. So you need both things, because you can't just serve as a child, you also have to serve as a servant. Both things. And a very short class today. That's it. But what the main point over here, that lishma, for its own sake, if you do something out of rote, forget about ulterior motive, obviously, but if you even do it out of rote, what does that mean? You're not doing it for its own sake. You're just doing it out of, that's your habit. And when we do things habitual, then there isn't a lishma, there isn't kavanah, there isn't intent. That is today's short class. I know now that. Any questions? Any comments? Welcome, Natan, Athena, Arsi, Vilma, good morning.
Good morning, Rabbi.
So just a reminder on Facebook, anybody has a question, please put 2 question marks first, and that way I'll know it's a question as opposed to a comment or something. And if you want to regurgitate any of the teachings from today, I know now that. What did you take out from the lesson? What new novel thought was there? Please share. Erica is with us from Norway. Good afternoon. Marty in Florida. Okay. Well, it looks like no one has questions. Everybody has clarity. Wow. Vilma, no questions? Okay.
Well, I can see how intent matters. I'm just processing it because every person has their own intent, and it's hard for other people to understand. And sometimes people do have more than one intent. So, yeah, this process of understanding intent is powerful.
Thank you. So David says, I know now that we need to do a mitzvah for its own sake and have proper intent doing the mitzvah rather than doing it without robotically. Exactly. Linda, I know now that doing something for God and or another needs intent without any motive to do so for its own sake. And doing so with love and awe gives the awareness and the love in one's heart. Excellent. Beautiful. All right. So a reminder, today's Yud Aleph Nisan. Today's a good day for those who wish to write a letter to the Rebbe, to the Oihel. For you, if for someone it's the first time, introduce yourself. And just give some good tidings about some good things that you're doing. And if you like, even to take upon yourself some good deed, some mitzvah, that would be beautiful. And actually, interesting that Rebbe writes about the idea of giving a gift. That even though you can't tell a person what kind of gift they should give, but the gift of learning Torah is a great gift to give. So if you can think about something you can do to increase in your Torah learning and give that as a birthday gift and write that into the Ohel with your name, mother's name, that would be beautiful and wonderful. All right, folks. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Be well. All right, folks. All right. Have a wonderful day.